course I'm ready to go live, you bastard.
Wow, sorry, just to offend anyone, just to not offend anyone, George did not mean to call you a bastard.
Just to offend anyone.
Just to offend everyone. You are a bastard. Well, you and you alone. You are the most devious bastard in
Fine Town City. Mike, do you think this episode could have been better or worse with Matt Berry in it?
I dread to think. I would not want to see Matt Berry playing a terrible racist. To be perfectly honest.
Dot and Bubble?
Sullying his reputation. You, sir, are not like us. We can't travel with you. That's voodoo.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Nerd Bible Podcast with me, George, him, Connor, and our special guest for episode. Is this episode 5? Is this episode 5 of this?
So, yes. For Doctor Who and this relaunch / reboot.
Yes. The reboot Disney Plus requisition of Pasty Sheep era. It's Mr. Michael Wilson.
Woo.
Sorry, Michael September.
Dot and Bubble. There we go. Hello, everyone.
But sorry, because there's 3 of us, and I know Dot and Bubble, but then you can't help but Bubble and Squeak. I kept that in the head. Which one of us is Squeak?
One of us has to be the man traps, Connor. You're stuck being that weird slug thing.
Whoa.
Oh dear.
Oh dear.
We are here, obviously, to review Dot and Bubble, the 5th episode of season 1 of Doctor Who on BBC, Disney Plus, and I don't know, Disney iPlayer, pirate it, get the fucking 50 quid steelbook when that comes out, whatever you're going to watch it. Michael, thanks once again for joining us. Obviously, when we did the lineup for the series, this was the one you wanted. Can you sort of tell us why that is? Because obviously this was before we knew what was going to happen with these nasty slug racists.
No, he had a vision. For sure. It's weird because I misinterpreted the title and yet still kind of got it half right, what I was expecting it to be, because I figured that I was cleverer than Russell T working out the title, and I was like, oh, Dot and Bubble, that's going to be about instant messaging, because you know how it's dots that appear while somebody's writing, then a speech bubble that appears. And I was like, I bet that's going to be about instant messaging and social media and stuff. And in a way, I was kind of right. But that's not why that's not where Dot and Bubble comes from. Obviously, it's it's the actual means that they've got to watch these things. But I had heard rumblings that it's going to be maybe a bit Black Mirror-esque, and I love Black Mirror. Social commentary, I'm all about it. I'm a Star Trek fan, so I'm used to that in my sci-fi. Though I wasn't expecting the gut punch that this ended up being. I thought, this is just going to be a quick, it's going to be a kick the millennials episode. Oh yeah, you never offer your phone, and then at the very end, I was like, Jesus Christ, Russell, what the heck? Where did that come from?
But before that, obviously, if anyone wants to know why, Mike's origins of his Doctor Who origin story, if you will, we've done loads of Doctor Who together, both on here, on previous podcasts that do or do not exist. I don't know what happened, whether Spin the Wheel still exists. Is that still a thing?
It's still there. I mean, you can go and you can watch the old episodes of what started as Hit or Miss Doctor Who and then became Doctor Who Spin the Wheel. And I'm on a lot of them. Will and Andy are on various ones. Who you've had Andy on obviously last week. Will's coming up, and I'm sure you have been on. You guys were on at least one at some point.
I mean, our conversation of Tortured Children of Earth is what started this relationship.
Is it? Oh well, there we go.
Yeah. Back in the day. So if you want to know why Michael likes Doctor Who, too bad, because we're just going to simply ask him, Michael, how have you been watching this season? Have you been waiting for midnight? Have you been watching it in the realms of normal television on a Saturday night? Have you been watching it in the morning on iPlayer? How are you consuming season 1 so far?
I'm too much of a sci-fi nerd fanboy, so I've been, despite not necessarily wanting to, when it was announced, I've been watching every episode at midnight. And I've been staying up till 2 a.m. because I've been watching the episode, then watching Doctor Who Unleashed, watch the video commentary on Boom, so I was up even later. It's I can't resist when it's there. It's nope. If I tried to go to sleep, I wouldn't be able to sleep knowing that there was new Doctor Who out there that I could just be watching. So, yeah, I mean, when it was announced, I was like, well, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to watch on Saturday night like I always did. Absolutely and then that just didn't happen.
No, you're more dedicated than me. I've literally watched every episode, trying to stick it to terrestrial Saturday night viewing. But I mean, this episode I completely missed my schedule. I forgot what day it was, and I ended up watching it yesterday. So because that was just life. But then as for midnight releases, normally I'm a bit of a late sleeper. I normally 12 o'clock don't bother me. I'm always up by midnight anyway. But for every reason, Doctor Who at midnight doesn't click in my head. It doesn't make me go, oh, new Doctor Who, I must watch it. And I've been meaning to watch all of the Unleashes because I still need to watch Church and Ruby Road Unleashed special behind the scenes stuff,
Right.
if that had one. But
yeah, they all did. Yeah. They're all pretty good. I mean, they're only half an hour, but I definitely recommend watching because obviously there's a lot of stuff about where the ideas for each episode came from and how they're made, like puppeteering the monsters and stuff. But also there's little bits like the presenter does like work experience every episode in just a different part of the production. So he'll be like the runner one week and the person that holds like the little shiny ball that gives you the light reflection the next week, and then he's like with the prosthetic monster guys one week. So I mean, it's only for a couple of minutes, but you do get a good impression of like, oh, this is what goes into making a show like this, and yeah. It's pretty good.
Yeah, this was because of obviously when I'd spoken to you as well. Like, this is the first Unleashed of the series that I've actually watched like straight after watching the episode.
Cool.
So yeah, I did. I really did because I'm as everyone probably knows, I'm a confidential whore. Like, I love that stuff. That is my jam.
Yeah.
So Unleashed is very much, in my wheelhouse. So I've enjoyed those. What have you thought of? I know that we've spoken with you and variously, we put your opinions of 73 yards to Dom, so we kind of know that. But overall, this season and the Ncuti Gatwa era, how are you on it? Are you enjoying it immensely?
I wouldn't say immensely, but I'm definitely warming up to it. And I'm despite myself, like I said, I'm just a nerdy fanboy at heart. So the things I complain about, I still keep on watching. And yeah, I did rage, and I was like, by generation, I'm never watching the show again. And then was back the following episode and was just like, nah, I'm over it. Shut up. But yeah, so yeah, I'm always gonna watch because I'm a Doctor Who nerd, and it is, it's one of the sort of main three sort of fan passions in my life. And there's things I don't agree with and things that I do. But one of my biggest complaints was that I was concerned that Russell T Davies was just going to play the hits, which I'm sure I've said before. And that was what worried me after the specials, because they were very much, I'm just RTD1 all over again. And I was like, I really hope something new is coming from season 1 as it is, or series 14. And so far, yeah, I mean, as much as I disliked 73 yards, at least it wasn't something he's ever done before. And I can say the same about Dot and Bubble. I mean, there's been episodes that were Doctor and Companion light-esque, like Love and Monsters and Blink, and there's been social commentary episodes, and there's been, attacking social media or whatever type episodes, but this still did feel kind of fresh and new. And I feel like this is the first time that I feel that Russell's kind of grown as a writer, because you compare like back in series 3 when you had a black companion and it was like, just walk around like you own the place, we're not going to address it, blah blah blah. And now it's like we've cast a black Doctor and he's actually going to address this issue of like, no, this guy's a black man, he's going to have to face this stuff. And I loved when, I think it was on Unleashed, or it might have been the podcast because I watch all of these things, and Russell said like when he cast Ncuti Gatwa, everyone came up to him and said like, how are you going to deal with it when the Doctor travels to the past? What about the racism? And RTD's answer was, what about the racism now? Like, it's not really got anywhere. So, but thinking it's a thing of the past is kind of part of the ignorance, and like, he's going to face it anyway. And I think it was really ballsy that the first time this Doctor faced it was actually in the future. It's like, yeah.
That racism will still exist like eons from now on a different planet.
Yeah. Not that it's a good thing, but it's just, like I said, it made it that much more unexpected and that much more of a gut punch, especially for a white viewer, because I'll be honest, and again, Russell said this, like, oh, at what point did you realize that all of the people on the Dot and Bubble system were white, and all the people on that colony and everything? And I was like, at the end of the episode, and I'm thoroughly ashamed of that, but it just didn't occur to me. And it's like, that's I will sort of check the privilege of that and be like, yeah, I've got to look into a little bit more maybe of why that is. And even some of the microaggressions that were happening towards the Doctor, which I just put down to like, oh, she's just a rude millennial or whatever, but like watching it back, it's really uncomfortable because I didn't see. And it's all there, all of the like, oh, I'm immediately blocking you, but I'll talk to Ruby. And oh, you look just like the last guy, because, they all look the same kind of thing. Really uncomfortable. And I'm just like, oof, it kind of sucks that I didn't see it. And I thought like, wow, that came out of nowhere like a gut punch. And yet it was there the whole time.
No, totally true, totally true. So, would you have you got a favorite of this season so far?
My favorite of the season's Boom, which was the only one so far that
Yeah.
I've given like full 10 out of 10 marks.
And the only one not written by Russell.
It's the only one not written by Russell, which might be partly why, because I don't know if I love Russell T Davies as a writer. I think I like some of his episodes. I wouldn't say I love all of them, and I think he's a big ideas man in some ways. Fingers crossed that's going to work out.
I think if he wrote less, like if he wrote the beginning and the end, and sort of went, "Here's where I kind of want it to go, but do your thing," then
But I mean, I'm a sucker for whether and I don't know how you guys feel about this, but I really genuinely enjoy the way that he seeds things through every episode. Even no matter what the resolution is, I've genuinely been enjoying sort of guessing, oh, where's Susan Twist going to turn up this episode? It's just a bit of fun, and that's something that Chibnall and not even really Moffat did in their eras. It was an RTD thing back in the first sort of run of Yard, whether it was the Bad Wolf or the Torchwood or the Mr. Saxon references, and yeah, I kind of like that, and I like this whole these ongoing mysteries of Ruby and Mrs. Flood and everything. And I mean, obviously, a lot will depend on how well it all pays off, and he doesn't have a great track record with season finales, so I'm kind of dreading that. But if he can stick the landing, then I'll be well impressed.
I just thought it didn't snow in Dot and Bubble. In Fine
Well,
Town.
we didn't really get a chance to spend time with Ruby, so she said she was stuck outside of Fine Time.
Maybe it was snowing in that green screen room where they were recording their lines. Maybe they recorded it outside. So obviously, the beauty of the fact that we're running a week behind with these means that spoilers abound. So if you've not watched the episode, what the fuck are you doing, guys? Like,
I've kind of already spoiled the shit out of it anyway. Sorry.
Be more like Michael September.
Be like Michael September.
Jackie Daytona.
Regular human bartender. But we'll jump straight in with our thoughts on it. Speaking to Connor briefly, because we kind of have like a pre-show warm-up, where it's kind of like did you like it? Because this is one of the only episodes where like we've not really said what we thought about to each other.
Yeah, not initially. I mean, but that's partly because I watched it literally about 5 minutes ago. 5 hours ago. By the time this comes out, no. I only watched it yesterday at time of recording. Even though again, it don't matter to you, the audience, as such, because this is already a week late. But yeah, and all our pre-show chat about the racism and about about the racism. No, we will. Don't worry.
Talk about the racism in the industry.
No, George, you're the one throwing out context. No, but I was initially like Mike. Oh, look, they're addicted to their phones. Oh, millennial social commentary. Ha ha ha. People can't even walk these days without staring at their phone. But I was initially on sort of Mike's side of the fence, and then it was only in our pre-show off-air chat. It was kind of like, oh, it was there, but I totally didn't clock like the minority. Like, oh, I won't talk to you. Like, singling out the Doctor, it was like you say, it was all there in the context and subtext, and it just, my brain just didn't like adjust to it. But I say on a rewatch, when I eventually rewatch all of them, like, yeah, Mike, I'm gonna have similar thoughts to you. Very uncomfortable, and it's all gonna be the real world things that are going into this episode, which again might dampen the score and rewatches. It might, it's less cool, clever Doctor Who idea. Be like, oh, why is this? Why is that? And I get part of it is the focus of the episode, but I was just more like, oh, millennials, stupid technology, technophobes, haha. But then there's real subtext there, real world implications that unfortunately won't ever go away because it's DNA'd into the human race of all generations. It seems to be, even in the future.
I think things like episodes like this, though, I think really do help because it gives you a chance to empathize. And if there is anybody that, if anybody holds these kinds of horrific views and whatever, they're not seeing themselves supported on screen. And certainly Ncuti's performance, at the end of the episode, just to leap to that, if you watch that and you don't feel empathy for this person, you've got no heart. You know what I mean? And it's just like, oh man, that was, in just a matter of a few moments. And it's the first thing he ever filmed. That was his first thing outside of like the giggle, obviously. That was the first thing he filmed on set was, we're going to throw you in the deep end and you're going to have to face this kind of thing. And it was just incredible. It was such a good performance, but it was heartbreaking at the same time.
Yeah, well, yeah, props. I don't know if you knew again, listen to 73 Yards, Mike, but Millie's first script reading. He will be able to tell you the 73 Yards. Millie's first script Whether or not it
Yeah.
was the first thing she filmed, but that was
No,
again,
it was. It was the first thing she filmed, and
It
she
the
was
first thing she
18
filmed,
years
yeah.
old.
While they were
Yeah.
filming, that because obviously he was in Sex Education,
Yeah.
and while they were doing their bits for this, which was minimal, she was doing 73 yards.
I mean, 73 Yards and Dot and Bubble were the first thing filmed. That was block one before even Church on Ruby Road. That's why Ntuti's
Oh.
barely in it, because he was still filming Sex Education.
Fine. Okay. That's why they weren't in it at all. No, fair. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, because we were discussing that in our 73 Yards review. I mean, check it out if you guys haven't already, or you watch it in a really random order, like some random YouTubers do. You know, they do exist.
Yeah.
Go and listen to our future John Pertwee, The Damons review, and then go and listen to Tom Baker's City of Death, and then come back and do Shooty Gatwa, or whatever you prefer, or just autoplay, YouTube autoplay.
Wibbly
you know,
wobbly,
I'd
timey
recommend that
wimey.
lovely feature.
Anyway,
I don't even know where I was going, but yeah, stuff. I forgot what I was
I
saying.
think
I forgot what I was
you said
saying.
about Ruby's first thing because of Shooty,
Yes,
like,
um,
Shooty being this is being his first thing is interesting.
Yeah, exactly. Between 73 Yards and this one, then that's cool. That's fascinating that they did this before Christmas or Church on Ruby Road. That's
And they got
more props
Yeah.
these performances out of these two.
from day one. Yeah,
for sure.
take it or
yeah.
leave it, folks. Yeah.
And
I really did. The thing is, like, I compared this to obviously not in terms of like the story beats or whatever, but in similar in its maybe its perception in the fandom with Face the Raven. Like, it's an okay story, but it hinges on this is the ending. Like, this is an important thing happening here, and maybe my only real criticism, and I've seen people sort of say similar, is that maybe this shouldn't have been written by a white guy. Because I know, like,
yeah,
it's an important thing that needs to be said, but obviously, as you've said before, Mike, like, we obviously are, in a white privileged situation. So, like, we could say, like, how bad racism is, and it is, but we're never going to feel that way because we've never had to experience that. Like, I think if you'd have had a black writer write this, maybe it would have sort of been a bit more of a, thing and come from the heart, whereas he can only write from what he knows, not from what he's experienced.
I see where you're coming from, but I think it might have been Radio Free Skaro that I was listening to, which was like, in a way that would have been disingenuous because the Doctor hasn't grown up their entire life being black. It's like they are now faced with, you've been stripped of the white privilege that you've enjoyed for 14 lives or whatever and 1,000 years. So it is not necessarily speaking to that I've lived with this my whole life experience. It's, what do you do when you've had that privilege and then now all of a sudden you haven't? And it's a different kind of frustration. And it's not something we'd ever face in real life because you're not going to suddenly, turn black or whatever. That would be offensive. But yeah, I mean, it was difficult to get a handle on, like, how would you even play that? And I really hope that Ntuti was asked, like, at least his opinion as a black man about some of the ideas, because, like, I loved how doctory it was that he was like, look, I don't even care what you think, what you feel, say what you like about me. I still want to save your life. And I was like, I hope he agreed to that, because it feels like you shouldn't, especially as a white writer, force a black man to say, oh, I'll just forgive it and let it go, when, they've got every right not to. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, not even necessarily forgive it, but kind of just the thing of, like, this is what he does, and, like, people aren't letting him help him because, like you say, the authority and his, people just listening to him is stripped away. It's kind of similar to what I wanted, like, it to happen in, like, the Whittaker era. Like, we never really had a story of, like, her, because she's a woman, people wouldn't listen to her. Like, it was like we never got to one of those stories. So, like, I admire that we're, like you say, not shying away from the fact that the Doctor is being played by a black man. This is going to come up. It does also question, why was there no racism in the Devil's Cord? Because it was 60s Britain, and there definitely would have been some horrific fucking opinions. But
I think that's the thing. You don't want it to be, at the same time, you don't want it to overpower every episode. And I mean, like I said, realistically, every time the 15th Doctor travels to the past, really, you should, if you're being, responsible or whatever, have a recognition of that. The next episode, they go into Regency era. There's no way you'd see a black man in the upper class Regency era. But again, that's not what the episode's about, and it's just going to overpower every episode if that becomes what it's about. And I think that's why it's kind of nice to handle it here in this way in Dot and Bubble. And we're like, look, it's a real issue. We're aware of it, but we can't let it become what the series is because we've cast a black man, because that wouldn't be fair to Ncuti either. You know, to be just because you're black, you've got to deal with this trauma every single episode, you know?
No, it is a completely valid point. It's just like, it's sort of like you deal with it, but like you can't ignore it now that you've obviously dealt with it, sort of thing. So it's going to be a thing of like, it can't just be like, oh, you can then just carry on gallivanting because, like, you know, certain time periods, like, and not to say that like, unfortunately, it's still an issue today. So, like, you know, there's a lot of people around the world that would, you know, still unfortunately have those kind of opinions. So it's sort of how he sort of treads that line of, it's a fantasy show, and like they can travel anywhere and everywhere, but you know, we have to give it the, you know, the stories that these characters and these actors deserve, sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And I will say, as much as I've kind of been a little bit critical maybe of RTD coming back to the series and his kind of work behind the scenes, I love Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor. Absolutely. From like moment one and everything since, I've just been impressed by all the different flavors he brings to it, like from the jaunty kind of happy-go-lucky, the maybe a little bit camp, because let's be honest, it's Doctor Who, of course it's a bit camp, to the like traumatic when he needs to sort of unleash this, you know, the rage and the frustration and the subtle moments that you get in things like Boom, for example. And I'm completely on board with him as the 15th Doctor. I think it's another, you know, knocked it out the park casting, which, to be fair, I've said for the last like 14. But, you know, I just think he's great.
There is never a bad Doctor, and Ncuti Gatwa is so much fun.
I feel like adding to the Ncuti chat, this is the We Love Ncuti section of all the episodes we've done so far. But I think it was either in Devil's Cord or 73, no, in Boom rather. But I feel like Ncuti's incarnation, like without saying, oh, this reminds me of so-and-so incarnation or such and such, I feel like Ncuti's incarnation thus far really does stand out, and not just because of the, you know, I'm the black man and I'm, you know, this is the different side of the Doctor.
Or just like, the first one that's been a gay actor, you know, as well, which is it's not to be ignored, you know.
Yeah, but I just feel like Ncuti's incarnation is really unlike other incarnation. I know he's in real life, he really cites John Pertwee, you know, Sylvester McCoy, and I when going to the speeches and stuff, like especially in this episode, I saw Tennant, like I felt Tennant in him, but
cheeky.
Bubbly, squeaky. No, but I just, you know, Ncuti's incarnation is really a standout Doctor, and you can't say, oh, he reminds me of this one, he reminds me of that one. Like, he truly is the Doctor. Yeah, he is more so than any incarnation really thus far. If I argue that,
you can't really see a definitive.
No.
Oh, he's because like.
Or he's idolized from this Doctor and this Doctor.
Like Smith is like, I like the more comedic nature and more Troutman-esque version of this like stuff kind of thing. Like you can't pinpoint he's trying to, like, not trying to be, but like he's sort of like emulating like a version of this Doctor, like so his Doctor.
Yeah.
He's sort of very sort of out there and sort of different. Like you get the energy, you get sort of a feel of all of them in a way, and I think that's really nice. And it's just unfortunate that we've had like 2 episodes in a row where he's near enough not in it. So I'm looking forward to next week.
Well, and the finale, obviously, as well. Hopefully, quite a big one.
Just it could be nice to see him in a period piece costume flirting with Jonathan Groff. That's all I want. That's all I need.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the thing that's worth addressing as well, is that every Doctor feels like the Doctor, and Ncuti definitely does as well. But also, every Doctor brings a bit of their own personality, and so naturally, the 15th Doctor, without wanting to put too fine a point on it, is clearly attracted to men. I mean, even in this episode, when they see Ricky September and both the Doctor and Ruby are like, oh my God, it's Ricky September. You know, it's just kind of, you know, it's there.
Even like when they flip the screen, like, hi.
Yeah, exactly.
Shall we talk about one of the most sort of detestable, in the end, protagonists in a Doctor Who light episode?
Oof.
In terms of Lindy Pepperbean, fabulously played by, is it Callie Cook that plays her?
Callie Cook, yeah. Who, by the way, nothing like her character. Just to clarify, from The Unleashed, she seems like a lovely woman and a great actress, and nothing like
young
her character.
Who, as they've pointed out in The Unleashed, she is playing a character. Everyone, this is a character she is playing. But I think it's also like, because like they said in like, not to just keep quoting Unleashed, but it's like you have to like find someone who is that sort of annoying, like from the get go, but you have to want to follow them in their story, and then
Yes.
sort of like be absolutely appalled by their choice at the end, and sort of not see it coming, even though it's coded throughout the whole episode. I thought she was good. Like, I think she'd done a good job. I just think, in terms of the stuff that happened between, like, the video chats with the Doctor and then the ending on the dock, I feel like it was kind of just sort of a bit sort of okay-ish. Like, there wasn't much to go on. It was just, oh, the slugs are eating them in alphabetical order, and that was about it. I don't know about what you guys do.
I love the performance, I thought, because, and again, it's a comment on how insidious racism is, and you can, if you don't know these people have these views, you might learn to like them, because I was charmed by Lindy Pepperbean for the majority of the episode and was like, okay, I'm happy to follow. And then when you realize, the Doctor's just trying to save her and without judging her, trying to knock her out of this ignorance and like, yo, just lower the bubble, tell me what's going on. Okay, now you have to get out of there, and he was rooting for her, so you end up rooting for her because your heroes are, and it's like, I really want her to do well. And then it's not even the racism thing. The complete switch happens, which is the first shock within itself, which you alluded to earlier, which was like, oh, it's not his real name. His real name is Coombs. Kill him first. And it's like, she sent this guy to die, that she has supposedly had these great romantic feelings for. And it's like, this woman is a monster. She's a shark. She will do anything to, to survive. And what made it worse when she got down there and was like, oh, he gave his life, he sacrificed himself, he stayed behind. Like, she didn't even admit to what she'd done. It was just horrifying.
Yeah, no, for me, that was the moment. Less about the racism, but it was definitely Mr. Coombs. aka his name might as well have been Ricky Autumn. He's not September, he's born in autumn. Yeah. Ricky March, kill him. I was really exactly like you said, Michael. Someone that, again, like every fangirl, every person that they all idolize and kind of have a cute little crush on, or again, implied romantic feelings for, and yet you just easily off him just like that, just to save your own skin. Like, it was really like, whoa. Like, I did not see that coming, personally.
I did swear at the TV when it happened, because, like I said, I was following her and I was like, no, I want this woman to do well. She's ignorant and she's a bit dumb, but hopefully we can mend her ways. And then that happened, and I was like, oh, you bitch, just at nobody at like midnight to my TV, and was like, I really hope nobody heard that.
Yeah, literally.
Just to briefly sort of interject, because there is something that has just broken on the internet about 10 minutes ago.
Oh,
Okay. Unfortunately, to be the bearer of bad news.
Oh no.
The William Russell has sadly passed away.
Oh no.
No.
It's literally about 10 minutes ago.
Oh.
So
he was
Ian,
almost 100. So
the first companion of the Doctor, or one of, obviously, aged 99 years. And at least we got to see him again in Power of the Doctor. So
yes.
that literally just come off my phone just now. So I'm sorry to interrupt the flow of the episode, because as we're talking about Doctor Who,
makes sense.
Definitely pop this bubble, but we'll that's some sad news, guys. Sorry about that.
Yeah, it's sad, but I mean, one heck of a life. We should all be so lucky to live to 99, and at least the majority of his work in TV still exists to watch. So you're gonna live on for a long time through that, I think.
A favorite episode with Ian in it, Michael?
Oh God, that's a big ask. Ooh, probably the Aztecs. Slightly controversially.
It's obviously London 1965.
I was trying to avoid the obvious Dalek. I was like, I do like the chase. I like the Dalek invasion of Earth, but they're obvious. And I'm like, no, I like the Aztecs. And I think Ian gets a kind of good hero thing in there when he fights the sort of bad guy.
Edge of Destruction when they're all crazy.
When he almost gets stabbed with scissors.
Connor, if you're going to watch an Ian one, just for the people.
A story for Ian. I'm going to go with the Reign of Terror.
Oh, it's another good one. Yeah.
Terrifying episode.
I mean, they're all good.
Good 62. Watch some of that I mean, this is going to be vastly out of date by the time this episode releases. But that's quite sad. Sorry to bring that down. Let's we've put our dot and bubble down. Let's put it back up now, because it's going to kill us. Because it's coming for Connor Essa being the first one to be killed out of us guys because it's alphabetical.
I'm fine. My surname's Wilson. I'm here for a while. Oh no, Wilson and White, they're both screwed.
God damn, what do I say, guys?
So-
They're after me. What do I say?
One thing I
Unlucky?
remember saying to you, Mike, was that I didn't sort of like, as you know, much as we look forward to the Susan Twist inclusion, I didn't really like the. Wait, that's the woman from episode 3.
Oh, I like that. I like that. I think I'd be more frustrated if they just weren't acknowledging it. So at least you know that that
I'd
the
like if
show's
they acknowledge
acknowledging
it, but
the
like I
characters
swear
are.
I've seen this woman before. She keeps cropping up because it's like who is it? Which doctor is it that's like? I think it might be Smith, where it's like never ignore a coincidence unless you're busy. Then always ignore a coincidence. Like one of those kind of things where it's like something's not adding up, but I don't have time to figure it out, kind of thing. Not like, oh, I've
Yeah.
seen that one before. Yeah, she was the ambulance on Castorian 3. Okay. And she was
Yeah.
also in the background, but we didn't see her in Devil's Card.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. But that's the thing that the times they recognize her aren't really times when they could interact with her, because it's like you said, it's the
Right.
ambulance screener, it's this video recording. So naturally, they could be like, I recognize that without actually talking to her. Because the one, well, not the one time, because obviously you had the hiker incident with Ruby, which may or may not have happened, depending on what that awful script is all about.
But bold shout, but she's the one who waits. She, video message on an ambulance. She was on a screen, but she's the one who waits.
I'm sticking with my theory that S Triad being an anagram of TARDIS is important.
She's listed as
There you go.
which is an anagram of
Yeah,
TARDIS.
yeah, I've heard the triad thing. Yes.
That's the only logical explanation that makes sense for me, because she's traveling through time with them, and yet
She is,
doesn't
she
seem
is.
to be.
And I did debate with you, Mike. Is it an effect of the events of the 60th? The splitting the TARDIS in half has kind of ruptured the like soul and sent her through time, sort of thing, maybe.
Yeah, possibly. It could
And
be anything. I
rejoining
mean,
the
I
TARDIS
like
and
that theory because
finally
I hadn't.
kill David Tennant.
That hadn't occurred to me, but I like the theory of it because something was done with the TARDIS that messed about with it and split it in two anyway. And it could be, I don't know, maybe the second TARDIS trying to catch up with the first because it's missing half of its soul in the same way as the Doctor says their soul was ripped in half and whatever. It's one theory, or it could,
yeah.
it
I
could
mean, we
just
are
be a
still
simple
due
matter
the,
of,
the memory TARDIS, aren't we? Which is
Yeah,
I'm
that's what I
assuming
mean,
from the
the-
finale.
Yeah, it could be a memory TARDIS. It could be a TARDIS that simply escaped Gallifrey. I mean, what happened to the one that Jodie Whittaker landed in back at the end of Series 12? I think
They crushed
didn't
it,
it just
they
get
crushed the
dumped on
TARDIS.
Earth?
Revolution.
Oh, that's right. She used it to kill all the Daleks.
And
Okay.
presumably that woman that was just living there.
That's
woman.
fine. But
How did we, as he is your namesake and your picture, how did we feel about the character of Ricky September?
it's weird because I'm seeing different opinions from throughout the internet, and it seems like I thought he was fine. I certainly didn't have anything against him, but because it's kind of an archetype that I hate anyway, this kind of talentless, let's be honest, pop star who just does camp dances to existing music and stuff. I'm like, I hate this. This is everything I hate about like the TikTok generation. So I really don't like this guy. And yeah, the nice pleasant surprise was, oh, I'm so much better than that. Really, I read and I just dump my songs and then come offline. And I was like, still don't know about this guy.
Without my phone or without my bubble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I still wasn't sure. But then again, as I've looked online, it seems like, and apologies if you're a fan of him, it seems like a lot of people that really liked him tend to be the racists, because I did see one Twitter account, which I won't give the pleasure of naming, one Twitter account that was like, oh, look, it was the best Doctor we've had since Capaldi, and it was a brief bit of an episode, then got killed off. And I was like, so you're a sexist and a racist. Thank you. Yeah, that's all you really needed to say. Anyway.
But the malice to for Lindy to execute this man who was like, whatever you think of him, like I did briefly think, like, is it the Doctor trying to use like a perception filter so like people actually speak to him, because it was very Doctor like isms.
I'm
then
glad
when
they
they see
didn't go
each
that
other
way
and,
as well. Yeah.
Yeah, the Doctor
Just
like finds him clearly attractive, so unless the Doctor's that vain, which he has been in the past.
Oh, I mean, yeah, honey, I know what I look like, and boom, but yeah, he's very vain. But no, I'm glad they didn't do the whole like to fit in the black man took on a white man's appearance thing, because that would have been very
I did appreciate that it wasn't that, but it did kind of feel like maybe like that's something he's done just to like get the attention of everyone because everyone's following him or whatever. That maybe that's
Yeah.
how the Doctor will communicate his message, but obviously it isn't because he never. Because this is one of those weird occasions, really, where he doesn't really save the day. Like
No, we
one
can't. That's
person
the
gets
point.
out, and they're presumably off to the fact that they're off to colonize another fucking coding, and it's hopefully those characters all fucking die a horrific
Oh, I
death.
think the implication is very much that they're all going to die because the slug creatures are out there en masse and they're just basically, paddling their way into them. I did see one of the reviewers that was like, it should have had a credits ending, like a scene over the credits, like that kind of Dawn of the Dead remake or whatever, where it's just literally them arriving outside and just all getting ambushed and eaten by the bugs. And they're all dead.
And but this time the slugs go at like 90 miles per hour. They actually move their ass and they actually devour the people.
Yeah,
that was one of the few nitpicks. Apart from the whole, lower your bubble,
Yeah.
like slowly look around and put it back up and then get out. And you're like, oh, but I can't walk without my bubble. Which, the slugs themselves weren't really a threat. They were just kind of there, inanimate almost, but just slightly moving.
Oh, I thought that I liked that because of the extra tension it gave you. Because like if they would just immediately be able to kill you, then you wouldn't be able to get the cool sort of scene of tension when she has seen that one sitting right next to her, and it's like, okay, just relax, stand up, get out of there, and the whole time you're just like, woman, freaking
I was
move.
wrapped up in the tension that you're saying completely, but I thought maybe when she meets Ricky in the alley and there's four of them there, and then she got to like the fourth slug, and then they were gonna turn and then move and do something with the CGI budget, but no, they were just good looking.
There are definite gaps in the plot as well because there's no real reason why they would create the slugs when they actually point out the Doc could just kill them themselves and do eventually. It's like, so why did you go to the trouble of genetically engineering these slugs to eat people alphabetically when you could just? I mean, everybody's got a dot. Just literally fly yourself through their head and kill them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I don't know, the slugs. I wanted to say they gave me some Classic Who vibes, but I can't think of the monster or what I was going to compare it to. But
the Doctor Who podcast said they were like the Tractators from Fifth Doctor's era. I think Visitation or The Awakening, one of those.
Yes, actually, yes, right. Just without faces. Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yes. Or even like the Axons without being in their golden statues. Or am I thinking of Seed of Doom?
No, I see what you mean because of the tentacly part of the way they look.
Yeah.
Maybe
that's where I was going to.
Doctor Who's done bugs before, but they do them quite well. I mean, they looked pretty disgusting. And I was pleasantly surprised watching Unleashed that it's actually, although there was CGI over the top, there was like an actual practical slug creature there that they'd made out of like foam latex and everything. So yeah, it was suitably gross and people could act to them as if they were there.
Nice. I really do need to watch all of Unleashed. I think as soon as we finish the season, I'm going to do a straight 9-hour binge or half-hour episode to what, like a straight 5-hour binge of all of Unleashed.
Yeah,
watching all.
I mean, it's the worst ways to spend your time. I do recommend like the video commentaries, and like I said, I'm a proper annoying fanboy nerd, so I'll watch Radio Free Scar or the official Doctor Who podcast, the 10 to 15 minute behind the scenes they drop on YouTube, Unleashed the episode. So by the end of it, even if I didn't like the episode, I know it off by heart.
I forget in a way how much content we've actually got in this era.
Oh, completely. And I mean, that's another thing that's, as much as I liked a lot of the Chibnall era, it was very lean. It was like you got the episode and then maybe a 10-minute YouTube video. And RTD is the kind of media guy. So it's like, no, if Doctor Who's coming out, you're getting swamped with media about it,
Whether you like it or not. Yeah.
I'm trying to sort of find something else to say, really. Like, I feel like it was like, in terms of the plot, like everything like looked great, like the slugs looked great in terms of like the practical design and like the CGI that brought them to life. I think Callie Cook was amazing, like to be that kind of protagonist to draw you in, but then for you to at the last 5 minutes want her boat to sink. It's really well done for an up and comer as well, and I really hope that this is like similar to how Carey Mulligan was in Blink and then was like Hollywood snapped her up. I really hope she goes on to have a fabulous career. Definitely. I just I wish the middle bit was more meaty, like there was more to sort of chew on and sort of enjoy.
As opposed to her walking out the classroom. Then she
Yeah.
meets
I see what you mean. I'm kind of fine with it, but I get where you're coming from. But I was
Yeah.
just on board. I was hooked into the world of it. And one thing that hasn't come up, but I really have to mention it because I just thought it was great. Did you guys appreciate like the sly humor when like it shows you her morning routine and there's like one of the accounts is Dr. P, and it's like, first of all, you haven't had to pee for 3 days. That's not healthy, love. Get yourself to a doctor first of all.
Yeah.
But then when she sees the like slug thing eating someone and she turns it on, and the first thing that pops in is Dr. P just going, "I'm sorry, but your need to urinate has just skyrocketed."
If you do urinate right now, she's going to hit the wind.
And the whole like it was, you know, in terms of like Black Mirror, in terms of because they even I think Millie name drops that in Unleashed, doesn't she? It's like it's very sort of Black Mirror, like, you know, what's social
Yeah.
media going to be like in, you know, 15, 20, 100 years time. Like,
it ain't going to stop. That's the thing. The sad truth, it ain't going to
oh,
stop.
imagine if Charlie Brooker had written this episode, it would have been fucking much worse. Everyone would have just.
I mean,
been
it would have
fucking
been
murdered
similar
each
in a
other.
lot of ways.
But yeah, I think
I mean,
it's in terms of, you know, the social media angle of that, like it's so relatable in terms of like we all just can sometimes just sit on our phone. Even sometimes like watching Doctor Who, like I'm sometimes not paying full attention to it because I'm on my phone and stuff like that. But you know, for all of this season, I do try to just put the phone down, just completely put my dot and bubble down. Yeah. And I think like her friends and stuff like on the FaceTime stuff was like believable. Like you don't
Mhm.
have all those kind of because it is just the rich white kids that have been sent to the fancy place to work for 2 hours a day. So they obviously wouldn't know how to do anything for themselves. And also like the sort of like obviously because we talked about it in the past, or I don't know when in terms of when your release schedule is for that, Mike, but talking about Wally when we recorded that, like in terms of the society and how their dependence on technology is completely fucked up their ability to do anything in terms of I can't walk without the arrows.
Yeah, completely. And like you said, the idea that a lot of people, when they see these things, not so much in this episode, but I do recall to jump back a little bit. Some people by the end of Orphan 55 really resented it and were like, "Oh, I didn't need this lecture about like if we don't clean up the planet, this is where we're headed." And it's like, yeah, but you clearly do because you still haven't done jack shit about it. So at what point do we stop saying this is ridiculous, preachy crap and start going, "Oh, maybe we should have listened," you know?
It's true, yeah. Especially with, you know, how technology develops in the last like 10, 15 years at this point. Like, you know, we could have one of these like next week. We don't know.
Yeah, but that was another part of the episode that I liked what Russell T had done in the not very subtle metaphor, and I think he points out himself somewhere of like it's a bubble because that is what it's like when you have no encounters with diversity and you only kind of cultivate your friends to be people that are like you. You're in your bubble, which is why he made it that. And it's like I appreciate the double meaning there, the double entendre, but it's so true as well. It's like how you see people that like the right wing conservative people always think they're right and everything they say is accurate because the only people they surround themselves with is other people that have the same views, you know. And if you shut out every other voice, then naturally you're just going to think you're in the right and you're doing all the right things.
And have a very narrow like view of the world in general.
Exactly. Yeah.
I like what it had to say. Like obviously I love the stuff at the end. I think if I could give this a ranking, maybe I'd say like a 7.5.
Lower than me.
We haven't done 0.5s.
Oh yeah, I hate we hate
We haven't done
0.5s.
Oh, I
famously.
gave okay. Well, my initial score that I wrote down did have a 0.5 in, but okay.
Yeah, like we could because like there's I don't know if you sort of feel the same about some of when like rating stuff, Mike, but it's like it's not quite an 8, but it's not just a 7.
It is the in-between.
Yeah.
But I hate
See,
like,
this is where
when you make
this is where I
ranking
was
it out.
coming down in the 0.5s because I don't tend to like doing them unless it is really somewhere like that. And I may as well, I'll say it now. I when I was writing it down just after the episode, and again after the second time, I kind of came to the same conclusion. Is to me, it's an 8.5. Like it's not really good enough to be a 9 because I recognize there's some plot holes and some things that are just convenient. But 8 seems kind of low for that ending and the kind of important things that it's saying. But you know, gun to my
That's
head,
the
if you
thing,
had
like,
to make me pick between 8 and 9, I'd probably go 8 because there's so much before the important stuff that doesn't fully work. But
Yeah, that's similar. That's similar for me. I think it's just like obviously the message at the end is very important, and like the acting and the way it's conveyed is absolutely fucking so well done.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like the rest of it's kind of a bit sort of Like the setup's interesting, and I just think the journey to get to like him to do that is sort of a just bit like okay, and then you've got like this amazing bit at the you've got an interesting setup, this blandness, and then like here's the really important thing that we want to say, and like it's the best
a little
bit.
bit.
Like this is the best bit of the episode is the ending.
Yeah,
and that's the only thing. For
yeah,
me that's
I
kind of
mean,
like as much
it's
as
certainly
I like,
it's next level compared to the other stuff in the episode. I wouldn't say I don't have as much problem as most people with the rest of it, because looking back and watching it back, it was not so much nice, but it was nice having that other level of appreciating. Oh, these are the subtle like racist microaggressions I didn't pick up on. Stupid little things like, for example, when she's shocked that Ncuti and Ruby are in the same room. And I'm like, why would she be bothered by that? Is there a reason? And then you realize, because black and white. Why would you be in the same room? Face-to-face contact is not to be done. Screen contact is all you can really manage. And it's like, oh shit, man! How did I not realize what was going on here? So I like that you can kind of, see those layers.
I am genuinely you, Mike. Like I say, I feel I'm not going to say my score or anything, but I feel like having this pre-show chat and having this conversation, you've kind of raised my score a bit more, because I've only, like the last couple episodes, I've only watched these episodes once before we do these recordings, but I know if I'm going to, or when I'll rewatch this one, will it go lower? Will it stay the same? I don't see it being better than what I already feel about it, but doing this and having our little chat, that's kind of maybe switch on and go, oh, how did I miss the very obvious real world talk that we've been talking about this whole chat, that you've kind of maybe raised it, maybe lowered it. I don't know. I'll find out. I'm deciding on the spot. I'm a bubble.
I mean, whether you like it or not, I think it's an episode that when you watch it back, there's going to be things that you didn't notice, even if it's just subtext.
It's going to be hard for a rewatch, because you'll know that you'll just want Lindy to die.
No, but I think that's the thing. When you rewatch it with that knowledge, and you're expecting the kind of microaggressions and the racism bits, passive aggressive racism that she does, which you weren't, why were you blind to it the first time? Because she's nice and polite and sort of happy-go-lucky white girl, and then watching it back, knowing that you hate her, is when you see it all and you're just like, Jesus, why was I blinded to this woman being just like,
why did she survive? Even just like when she's saying how condescending he's being, when he's just like trying to do what he would normally do, is just calm her down and help her out. It's just like, oh.
I mean, again, it's a very subtle thing, and you might not necessarily have read it or read it in this way. But the idea that as soon as the doctors contacted her a couple of times, she rings the police. I mean, she's the ultimate Karen. Yeah, I tried to block you and you're interrupting me, so now I'm going to ring the police on you.
Very true. Well, you got to give it a number, Connor. What you say?
No, got 8.
8?
No, 0.5s. I think 8 at the minute. This chat, like I say, real life implications aside, I think it's kind of maybe affected the score slightly on the eventual rewatch. Because again, I was only looking at it through like one technological lens and like, millennial lens, and then sort of not ignoring the other stuff, but just really without putting it at the forefront, like our conversation has. But I feel like, without sort of recapping what we've done previously, I feel like out of everything, I feel like the last 4 episodes, minus Space Babies, weakest of the season, I think thus far. Still, I feel like the other 3 have got a chance of going up, or maybe staying the same. I feel like this one, out of the 3 other episodes, being Devil's Cord, Boom, and 73 Yards, I feel like out of those 4, this 4, I feel like this is the one that's got the risk of being lowered, or the bottom of those 4 at the minute, but not for any reason. Just, like we've kind of been saying, Michael, each week, like I feel like Doctor Who in a way is cool again, and I've enjoyed watching each episode and having different flavors of, whether you're talking about the writing, or I just like going into some of these episodes and just not knowing anything and what to expect. And Dot and Bubble was a great example of that, so I'm not trying to bash it at all. But I feel like the other 3, when I eventually go and see the other 3 again, I'll have more fonder memories. I'll be happier, not just because of the plot and the subtext, but I don't know. I say 8. I'm rambling. I'll say an 8.
I know what you mean, like, because as I was thinking about it, I was like, in terms of rewatch value, if I rewatch it again, because I've done it twice, if I watch it another time, it certainly wouldn't be something that I would think, oh, I'll chuck it on and rewatch it to feel good. So that kind of lowers its rewatchability because it's not designed to be like that. It's more of a you need to get the message across kind of thing, which I know a lot of people have an issue with. But like I said, I'm all for social commentary in your sci-fi, but it's very uncomfortable. You're not going to sit and think, ooh, I want to feel horrible racism for 45 minutes. Let's chuck this up. Like no, you'd immediately lean towards another episode of the season, whatever it might be, to click on. But it doesn't mean that these episodes aren't valid and don't have a place.
And I'm also sort of mirroring George's statement of really good setup, really good ending payoff. But then when I actually think, all right, she walks out the classroom, she then meets her crush, they then go for a walk in. All right, the doctor and her have a conversation on the tablet. Oh shit, it's run out of battery because of course people run out of battery in 100 years in the future because that's always going to be a thing. She goes underground. Then you get the sudden plot twist, and then you get the great ending. I feel like to back George, I feel like the middle could have been a bit more. But then with all these episodes, I'm very much sitting there trying to not figure out the mystery, figuring out the twist, what the message is going to be. But I'm very much in tune and engaged with what's going on. But just from a script point of view, I feel like more could have happened in the middle. But I love the setup. I'm thinking about it the whole time, trying to be clever like Russell and the team at BBC and Bad Wolf Studios. But then, like I say, the ending is the main focal point. So I'm kind of mirroring George a little bit in terms of script and in the middle. But other than that, still in it.
Yeah.
Do you guys think that the episodes could have benefited some, if not all of them, from just being a bit longer?
I was literally going to say exactly that, and I think that's been my biggest issue this season. Is if you chuck 10 or 15 minutes onto every episode, it's going to make them much better. And a lot of the questions that came up about this one were things that I think they could answer, but they just didn't have time. Like they do briefly allude to, the doctor mentions, oh, these slugs aren't a natural thing. They were created by the dots. They're killing everyone alphabetically, but there's more questions there than answers. Like, why did the dots not do it themselves? Why specifically alphabetically? Is it just because they're like machine minded? What happened to the homeworld? We got one very brief glimpse and it looked like, the apocalypse of the slugs, basically, which it would have been nice to explore a little bit about, like, geez, what actually happened there? And, are the slugs a natural thing that's been replicated by the dots, or are they just completely new? And again, if so, why would you choose like a random insect thing? These are questions that I think could have been answered with just a few extra minutes, and it's a shame we didn't get that.
Well, it's to sort of counteract the answer. We won't ever see it, but you can listen to it one day in the future, 5 years, 10 years, until they get the license. Yeah, exactly. Big Finish.
Revenge of the Man Traps is bound to be a Big Finish audio at some point.
Exactly. Yeah.
With starring Mel.
Yeah, it's Mel with Ricky September. He had a clone the whole time.
And Brian Blessed as Mr. September.
Brian Blessed as the voice of the Man Traps. They talk now. Get over here! I'm going to eat you!
Can you walk into my slug face?
Too good at that. Yeah.
And Rufus Hound plays the monk because he just always does.
That was my other theory about who Susan Twist is, because again, traveling through time and seeming not to do much helpful stuff, but potentially meddling, could be the monk.
Like a less effective version of the Master.
Well, I mean, every Time Lord who isn't the Master is a less effective version of the Master.
Even the Rani, she even hates children.
Pickled in time.
So, as we've briefly, obviously talked about our theories for Susan Twist, so I'll question it more for Miss Ruby Sunday. What do you think of her origin, Mike? Do you subscribe to the Trickster's daughter? We're reusing the Lost Sarah Jane Adventures idea, or is there something else that you've seen or think?
I want it not to be that, because I kind of don't like that was kind of easy to figure out, but it's hard to ignore the clues, particularly the musical cue that was used, when Maestro was like, oh, he couldn't have been there that day, and it was playing the Tricksters, background music from Sarah Jane Adventures. It's like, that would be one heck of a weird coincidence. Unless, of course, it's Russell and Murray Gold just trolling us like, I'm going to get you all thinking this for weeks on end and then drop, I don't know, Omega or Sutek on you or something, just out of nowhere. Who knows? In a way, I like not knowing, though. I kind of, like I said, I think I said this in my review of the first 2 episodes. Like, I'm happy with the mystery as long as you don't get internet smart asses that are like, I'm going to figure it out and be smarter than you. And this is why it's exactly this. And I've figured out all the clues. Or these people that get advanced screenings and are just like, this is exactly what it is. And because that kind of ruined the 60th for me, was
the
knowing in
internet now,
advance.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Because we never had
that's what I mean.
in RTD1, really, if not also. I mean, you had
Well,
Gallifrey
certainly
Bay.
you wouldn't have the situation we have now, which is that if you don't watch it at midnight, you've got 14 hours to avoid spoilers from the people that have stayed up or the people in the other countries that have seen it before we get it on the BBC. So, and I think that's going to be a real issue when it comes to the finale. I think that's why they've got those cinema screenings going on, because I have a feeling it's going to be big. Like, you're not going to want it spoiled in advance, kind of thing.
Are you going, Mr. Michael, Mr. September?
I would love to, but I don't have a cinema close enough to me. Like, I could have went because it's on at my local cinema, local-ish in Newcastle, but I've got no way of getting home at 1 a.m. when it finishes. So no.
No, yeah, that me and George are just to cut it off. But when I initially looked it up, it wasn't a case of more it's late, how are we getting home? It was more like it was going to be London and trains. Be like, the trains are going to shut at least by midnight. We'd get out at like you say 1:30, 1 o'clock. One of us would have had to have driven up there. But then luckily, by the time I actually booked the tickets for me and George, one of our local cinemas was, doing it. And we're fortunately got the chance to watch it. But then silly me thought, oh wow, 2 episodes never before seen. Of course, episode 7's the week before. Unless I go without watching episode 7, so then I'm really making the most out of the bang for my buck and going into it completely blind. I don't know.
I don't know how much I'd recommend that, because I do remember seeing an interview when the whole midnight thing happened with Russell T Davies, where he was like, I understand you're not wanting to do this every episode, but when it comes to episode 7, if there's ever an episode where you're just going to want to stay up till 1 a.m., pour yourself a cider or whatever, you're going to want to see that going out live. You're not going to want to miss that and be spoiled. So I was like, oh great.
So it's a good man goes to war again, right?
Well, who knows? I mean, there's so many mysteries at play that I'm sure at least one of them is going to be answered at some point,
Yeah.
But before that, we've got. Are you looking forward to next week as well? Not just the epic 2-part, but the first 2-part of this era.
Well, you know me, given that it's another episode that's not actually written by my most hated writer, Russell T Davies, clearly I'm more on board than I would be. No, like I say, I like Russell T half of the time. But no, I do like to see what other writers can do. And it's, as much as I admire even Moffat, it's going to be nice to have an episode for the first time since God knows how long ago that wasn't by a showrunner, because it's all been Chibnall, Russell T Davies, Moffat, and this is the first time since I think Haunting of Villa Diodati, which hasn't been written or co-written by one of those 3 showrunners. So it's going to be a nice change of pace.
And the writer, was it the writer or the director of Loki?
Yeah, well, she was one of the, I think, on the writing team. One of the 2 writers was, one wasn't, because it's 2 women. I think Kate Herron of the 2 worked on Loki, and Bryony Redman, I don't know where she comes from, to be perfectly honest, but yeah.
We look forward to it. Is there going to be a lot of steamy, intimate scenes with Jonathan Groff?
Oh, almost certainly. But I'm here. As much as the homosexual contingent might well admire Jonathan Groff, and don't get me wrong, handsome man, I'm all about Indira Varma, as I have been since Torchwood season 1, episode 1. Oh yes.
They keep killing. Maybe Susie's back in the past.
No, she's playing an alien thing. I've seen the clips and stuff.
Susie.
She's like a weird bird alien creature. But yeah, I mean, come on. Torchwood, Game of Thrones, and the fact that she's gorgeous. I'm on board for that.
all good reasons to be excited. And like you said, the 2-part finale. It's been a good. I've really enjoyed this season. Keep trying not to call it Series 14 because it is very much here's
call
the
it Series 14 if you want to.
It's the jump-on point for the Americans, isn't it? Let's be real.
There are still some people that are referring to it as like Series 40 or whatever, so feel free.
Well, we'll have to see when the Blu-ray comes out. What season
it's going to be
is.
It's listed as complete season 1. I already checked.
Oh, the start. We've got season 1, series 1, and season 1.
And season 1, yeah.
Which one are you referring to? But I have really enjoyed this, and I've really enjoyed this chatting with you, Mike, because it's always like we said the same to Andy. We'll probably say the same to Will because we have to be unbiased with our 3 overlords. But it is always fun to talk Doctor Who with you and the others as we have done this series, and we'll do so again in season 2. So as long as you're up for a place on the discussion team, if you want an episode next season, we would love to have you back.
Of course, there's a companion joining the show who comes from a place that's just a few miles from where I live. I'm all on board for Varada Sithu, the Geordie companion.
Here we go. You can do our first episode maybe because Andy has already claimed the Stephen Moffat Christmas
George of the
special.
World. Yeah, I gathered. I mean, I'd be happy to be on an episode with Andy and or Will. It's been a long time since we've all been together, but it would be 6 hours long and nobody would get a word in.
That's true, but there is pray tell we have debated with maybe we do a end of season sort of like table discussion with all the guests and ourselves.
Cool.
If
Yeah,
you
I'd be up for
possibly
that,
be up for that, if we can sort the logistics between obviously you, Andy, Will, Guy, and Dom as well. If we could make that happen, then that would be absolutely amazing to sort of come back to, what did we actually think of this series now that it's all finished, kind of thing.
Yeah.
If we
I'm
can
glad
make
you
that
pointed
work.
out that we all picked this episode before we knew what it was, because it feels like I didn't steal the slot of a black man to talk about this episode, just so you know. It would have felt really awkward if we
No,
were
that is true. We
Well,
have to point that out that this was
I've got
completely
something to
by
say.
accident,
Yeah, exactly.
but also because
To be fair, you wouldn't have
put it out
wanted my
to
opinion on
everyone.
73 yards. I would have just ranted about how much I hated it for 45 minutes. So,
That's true. But also it's the fact that, we got the list of episodes and it was kind of like I put it out to everyone, which episode do you want? And Andy was immediately like Devil's Cord, and then it was like, actually no, I want Boom, and then you were this one. And
Oh, yeah, from the start.
it's ended up how it's ended up. So
Yeah.
we'll hopefully we'll try and maybe I'll have to speak to Russell about what actually happens in each episode so we can coordinate our guests more effectively.
Well, I mean, you can always ask the guests their opinions on other episodes on social media, or as you said, the roundtable idea is a good one because it means you can comment on episodes that you weren't on the review of. Because as I've been listening back, I've been like, oh, I want to interject with something here, and haven't been able to. So.
How dare you say this?
Or literally, if we get to a table read end of season discussion, be like, so 73 yards, and Mike's just like a big stack of paper, and he's just like
Knuckle
bashing it
crack
on the table. Right.
Class is in session, folks.
Point number 1.
Time to page
Yeah.
394.
But yeah,
I mean,
if we can do
I
that.
should clarify, I didn't hate the episode because I thought the points that I did give it were solely for Millie Gibson, because
Yes.
much as I didn't like the actual plotting, I think like an 18-year-old delivering that performance, and
Well,
their first day on set, it's
40-year-old.
like, it's like, congratulations, welcome to Doctor Who. You're now the lead of the show, and you have this heavy shit to do. Good luck with it.
Good luck, bye.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, it's been a lot of fun. So before we sort of like wrap this up, Mike, where can the good people on this interweb find you?
Well, thank you again to you, George, for having recently been on the top 10 Pixar episode of Silver Screen Podcast, which is either it's either due out or is out now, so you can check out the Silver Screen Podcast. And also, just a few weeks ago, thank you to both of you for being on our Back to the Future review, which hasn't done as well as I hoped it had. It's still got a good few views. It's well past 120, but I feel like more people should be watching it because there's a lot of passion for that movie in that episode, and I think it would be enjoyable if you are a fan. And just in general, go check out our reviews on the Silver Screen Podcast.
We went back in time, damn it.
We almost shagged our own mums. No.
That's a standard Tuesday.
So no, do check out Silver Screen Podcast on YouTube or just various places around the internet. It's either Silver Screen Podcast or my name, or likewise, I also do a sister podcast all about Star Trek because I'm a big nerd, as I've mentioned, which is called Hit or Miss Star Trek, which is currently entering the last stages of its Romulan-themed episodes. If you know your Star Trek, you'll know who I mean by those dastardly Vulcan lookalike pointy-eared bastards. So do
in order the
you really are the most devious bastard in all of the Romulan Star Empire. So, yeah. Yeah, you can check those out on the Hit or Miss Star Trek podcast channel on YouTube, or again anywhere, all the social medias that you can find us. And yeah, there's lots to enjoy. So by all means, interact with us. Come join our Facebook group, Silver Screen Movie Group, or Hit or Miss Star Trek. And I'll always be around, and I'll be always invited back here by these guys because I am a regular listener, and I do enjoy listening, and occasionally when I have the time, contributing really bad fan art. So yeah.
Yeah, I don't, have you requested anything, Connor, in recent weeks? 'Cause
I feel like I do it
remember.
every week now. I feel like Mike, do this, whether or not it gets
You
turned.
did request something, but I was like, oh, I'm going to have to make a note of that, and it completely slipped my mind. So apologies. I've
I
just
feel
been
like
busy.
I've requested not just to say I've done 3 things and you haven't sent nothing in, but I feel like I do it every week, just kind of as a joke. But I'm also being serious. But I'm gonna have to. No, I'm gonna have to go back, recollect, and be like, right, this when we do our table discussion, this.
One for every episode. There you go. Yeah.
Exactly. Yes, it needs to be legit.
Oh, bless.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
did you guys have a chance to check out the Alien Romulus trailer yet?
No, I've watched the Venom trailer.
I did send it to you on. I sent it to you on Instagram, Connor. If you're an Alien fan, I love the look of it. This has got nothing to do with Doctor Who, but you know it is sci-fi horror. So yeah, I love the look of it. It looks like a proper return to form.
I saw the tickets go up on Cineworld, but I totally just blanked that there was a trailer, so I have not watched. And no, I've neither watched the trailer via Instagram. I apologise, but Venom, I know that was a thing, and I don't know. It doesn't make me want to. It doesn't make me want to dance.
Yeah, it just looked bland.
With nobody.
Nobody.
Yeah.
How can you take this without killing it? We'll see. Oh, I mean, but I forgot because I think I said this when we recorded on Sunday, wasn't it, Mike? That he's going to become the official Spum Chum of the podcast. So anytime a Spum film is out, we'll have to get Mike on. Because we'll have to. I'll rent Madam Web and we'll review it.
I quite enjoyed Madam Web. I saw it at the cinema.
Oh dear.
No, out of morbid curiosity, I can't. Out of all these Sony movies and the Spum, I kind of want to go back to Madam Web, but for the wrong reasons.
I mean, it's not good, but it has got Sydney Sweeney dancing on a table. So
it's like the Room of superhero movies.
Really, yeah, that's a good. Yeah.
But yeah, so we'll get you on for Craven the Hunter and other such things because normally we just get you on for Morbius or Doctor Who.
Craven's first and last hunt. Spoiler alert. Hint, hint. In the future.
If ever you do a review of anything Star Trek themed, by all means invite me. And Connor, make sure that you go to that screening that's happening of Star Trek 3, the cinematic re-release.
I know.
You went to the cinema
I feel obliged.
for Star Trek 2.
I feel like I have to. No, I don't know. I will anyway. I have to rewatch Wrath of Khan again, but no.
Any excuse for that's always good. It's a brilliant movie.
I know it is. I can back that.
Is Connor due to be on anything upcoming?
I don't recall. I think I've got you guys down for something at some point, but I don't know exactly when.
Because I've got a very good habit of completely forgetting until like the week of.
Yeah. I have. Yeah. Connor has asked to be on our review of Rocky on July 14th.
Oh, yeah. You and Jay. We are Jage.
Rocky 1, not Rocky 4. Jesus.
Yo,
Barlow, you chance,
Spike it.
You're Adrian to buy you a turtle from the pet shop. Not chance are gonna let me sleep with you now or what?
It's your time now, Creed. I got your dad killed.
Got your dad killed.
Sylvester's alive.
He's been hiding under coming up if either of you wanted to volunteer for stuff, by all means, feel free. But yeah, the next one that's definitely confirmed is Connor wanted to join our Rocky review. So
well, do check that out, and do check out all of Mike's stuff, which will be in the description below. And thank you for coming once again. And I'll hand over to Connor's. So Connor's basically been doing a rant that's got a bit longer each week.
No.
And poor Dom, I had to sit there for about 5 minutes while Connor just spouted off all this shit.
It really wasn't that long.
Start the time, folks. I feel sorry for Will in episode 8. What we're going to get?
16 minutes. No. Right. So this is more appropriate because, guys, thank you for finding this bubble of the internet. And talking about the bubble-filled episode that is Dot and Bubble, but with no squeak. Maybe that's a sequel episode down the line. You guys know where to find us. You found us on YouTube. You people, as Doctor Who stated this week, how to find us on different things. Your books that have faces, your grams of Instas, your not your Twitters, but your X's.
I like to imagine that Mike's just gone.
No, all right. Look, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. The obvious ones. WhatsApps. Eventually, Pacey Sheet WhatsApp that will come in the future.
Did you guys ever used to watch the Late Late Show with James Corden when he used to do it? Like, he had this entire bit that was just like, and here's all the ways you can reach us. And it went on for 10 minutes, and it was just like, join us on Instagram here, join us on LinkedIn here. You can write us a letter. You can give it to a carrier pigeon. You can scribble it on the wall and take a photograph.
It feels like
Right, a carrier pigeon.
yeah,
No.
right on the carrier pigeon.
Right on
Like
the
small, the feathers are big.
Exactly. Guys, we want emails. That's the main thing. If I'm going to use this time, I want mail. We want mail.com.
Connor wants males.
No, we want no. Nerdbiblecontact@gmail.com. You know, send us your thoughts. We've had to listen to Mike for the last hour and 9 minutes and counting. We want you, the audience, to give us your thoughts and tell us what we're wrong. You could be our interjections.
You could be our Mike.
Yeah,
Could be our Mike for all the weeks to come.
I
Michael,
always like
no
to hear
more.
disagreements. I'm always on board to expand my life view. But if you ever use the word woke, I will immediately ignore every word after it. So just be warned.
Look, Nerd Bible Contact, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, Xbox Live eventually, PlayStation
Hey,
Network,
if Elon Musk can dead name his own daughter, we can dead name Twitter.
Steam ID. Does anyone use MySpace, MSN?
Throw a brick through like the window. I don't know.
.com, throwbrick.window.com. That's the thing.
One of those things where you each have a can of beans and there's a string joined in.
Lady and the Tramp style. Yeah, look, guys, you know the rest. You watch Doctor Who. You know very much how to find us.
Smoke signal.
Thank you for that. And always charge your phones. That helps. Don't you dare watch us and let your device die halfway through. Don't you dare do
Indeed.
that. Not particularly this one.
Nerdbiblecontact@gmail.com, everybody. Don't forget.
Yeah, nerdbiblecontact@gmail.com. Send us your stuff, please. We've been asking every
Send
week.
us
I
your
feel like I'm
money.
getting there. No.
Your phone bills.
No, definitely not that. Yeah, that's it. I don't know how long I was, but there you go. Time me, people. I dare you.
Oh God, I'm so sorry, Mike.
It's all right. I'm getting that way with mine. That's why I just wrote it all on a graphic. So now at the end of my podcast episodes, I can just go, if you want to find us, look at the graphic on screen or in the episode description. Bye.
Find us, look out your window. We're staring at you.
Invading your bubble, are we?
But as always, what did you guys think of Dot and Bubble? Drop a comment, drop an email, drop an anything. Drop a big shit on my doorstep for all I care with a paper bag that says it was good. Thank you, Mike, for joining us. And if you're going to do anything tonight or last week when it actually happened, go and watch Unearthly Child for William Russell and pour one out.
Yes, indeed. But not on the iPlayer because the rights have been taken by some idiot.
If he only just said that in Devil's Court. Over there was where I lived with my granddaughter, but we can't see it because of some bastard holding the copyrights.
Some bastard.
Well, he can't break into my house and steal my DVD of it, so fuck that guy.
Well, you don't know. He might be doing like the Grinch and just stealing all the copies of An Unearthly Child. You're a mean
Very
one,
good.
Mr. Coburn. But Mike, we will see you at some point in the future. We will see you guys next week. Fare thee well.
Bye, and it's a bit city with the yellow.